one of the things I need clarification on, and that is when rules that we had north and south of Interstate 90 is with the management by FWP now, is the rules north and south of Interstate 90 the way they were significantly changed, or would you care to comment on that?
Yeah, so once wolves were delisted, that line went away. That was just a federal line because the naturally recovering wolves in northwest Montana were treated differently than those that were closer to the areas where they were reintroduced. So delisting, line goes away, everyone, same rules apply across the state. Anybody can shoot a wolf that's chasing, harassing their livestock. There's no difference between those two areas.
Hey, Liz, right there. I run into this a lot where we get to know a little bit about a lot of different things, and so I apologize for this. and I'm not a behavioralist type of person, don't have any understanding of that. But there was a couple of comments that seemed to suggest that that some of our control efforts were directed at, I don't want to use the wrong word, training the remaining population out of certain areas or out of certain activities. Am I understanding that right? That some of those actions, I guess you said, remove the animals that are doing the predation. And with no information, my first inclination would be say, well, given the chance, wouldn't any wolf prey on a beef calf or or a goat or something like that? Is it true that are certain packs learn that behavior and then teach it over and over again? Is that the issue?
Yes, it is a learned behavior. So it's passed on from parents to the pups. So most packs in Montana eat deer and elk, and that's what's passed down. The more livestock are available, the more it's likely that wolves are going to test them at some point. And once they learn how to do that, that gets passed on. And so once we have what we consider a chronic situation where the whole pack knows how to kill livestock, very difficult to stop without removing the pack. So when we have a problem just beginning to start, that's why we try to get the ones doing it, want to remove them immediately so the rest of the pack doesn't learn that behavior, and we don't have any more depredations. But if they do it again, we remove more animals.
And then you talked about, I can't remember what the word is, getting used to being around people. Do we have some information on how not to do that?
How to maintain some fear in the wolf population. Yeah, I mean, we've always encouraged. There's been when we were under federal management, the laws allowed people to haze and harass wolves in the bitter. We always told people, you see a wolf, just scare it off, even if it's not doing anything. But if it's close, scare it off. We haven't had any situations that we know of where we've had wolves that have really truly habituated to people and have lost their fear enough that they're hanging around. If that ever happened, we're going to get rid of them.
It's interesting that you say that because, and I want to share because we've been collecting stories from people and they want to share their information with you guys. So it's nothing but I was surprised how many times people said that, and from both sides, the animal looked at me and we had a moment of soul searching or whatever versus, the animal looked at me and I thought I'm in trouble. But that the thing that was a theme was that the wolves showed no fear of being fairly close to people. Even some of the people who said, ended up shooting it, it was like, go ahead, shoot me, I'm not leaving. So it's interesting that you said that, and that's one of the biggest concerns that I've had from citizens who, won't take walks anymore. They don't, let their children out in their yards anymore, and they don't want to go up in the woods anymore because they really feel that the experiences they've had have been wolves who don't care that you're a human.
Absolutely, and I hear that a lot too. The wolf turned and looked at me, kind of slowly walked off. That sort of thing, or
I walked off first.
It may not be acting aggressively, but didn't run off. And I think that's a difference between a hunted population and a non-hunted population. Most people see a coyote, it's gone. You see its tail because coyotes are hunted really heavily. Wolves haven't been. They haven't had that. Not all wolves have had a negative experience with people, especially young ones. And so I think we see that behavior more with young animals, just like any young animal can be kind of curious sometimes. And so I think we're going to see a huge learning curve once we start hunting wolves again this fall. We won't see as much of that kind of behavior. I mean, you'll always to some extent have young animals, pups that may not know any better, not know what people are. But I think that's, like I said, just a big difference between a hunted and a non-hunted population having that experience. Because wolves, they'll wise up pretty quick to
Yeah,
that.
they're very smart. One other thing that we've had mentioned several times in our meetings that only two head of cattle have been killed in the Bitterroot confirmed this year. And that's sure not what we hear from our cattlemen. So do we just have one? I have stories of many more horses. We've had some, not all of them die. They may be put down because they've been mangled or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But do you believe you're getting the data that you need? Because a lot of citizens are telling me they're hesitant to come forward because of backlash, and the Shrams are a perfect example. They're getting life threats.
Right, right. And that's one reason that we always protect people's privacy on those issues. Anybody that's involved in livestock
Unless
depredations,
the paper doesn't.
Well, that's, yeah, we don't always have control over that sort of thing. We want people to feel comfortable reporting these issues. You know, if we can confirm wolf kills, then they can get compensation for that, and we can take quick action and resolve the problem. So we just get the word out, you know, we're here to protect your privacy and do the, you know, and try to do the right thing to stop further problems. But I'm sure some of those go unreported, and we don't always know.
Yeah.
No.
We have a lot of ranchers I know who will not.
Greg?
You know, it's interesting to me that U.S. Fish and Wildlife guidelines were, the target was 30 breeding pair over these 3 states, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And we, in Montana, in their 2010 highlights indicate, we in Montana alone have 35 breeding pairs.
That's correct.
And 100 plus packs. How long does it take, first of all, a pack to become a breeding pair by judging that how long they've had 2 pups? Is that, is there
Yeah, I
some?
mean, a new pair with pups would qualify as a breeding pair as long as those pups survive through the end of the year. Yeah.
So it would seem to me that, you know, with 35 confirmed breeding pair, 108 packs, that we're looking at conceivably next year having, you know, 100 packs or 75 packs or whatever it is, that I would assume there's a pretty good percentage of these packs that become a successful pair. And, you know, we keep hearing, then the Fish and Wildlife, whatever it's called, the management group, said, okay, we have to have 10 in Montana to conform with the ESA. So we pad it by 50% to make sure we don't go too low, but 50% seems like a hell of a margin for error. And now we have a 50% margin of error. We have, you know, 300% of the target rate already on the ground. And what looks to me like could almost be exponential in that when these 108 packs all prove themselves up as breeding pairs. So I appreciate the fact that you promoted and worked hard for the hunt and to get the hunt approved, and 220 quota or whatever the heck it was. Well, it just doesn't seem like, even at that rate, with these numbers, that the sustainability, maybe over time, if we're successful, which, you know, as a guy that hunts a lot and do a lot more hunting than I do shooting, I understand that, you know, we're not going to, unlikely to get that quota. I hope that we do, but I don't know. I hope that we don't, you know, we always remember we had that 50% fudge factor already, and now we're looking at these numbers. It seems like we got a lot of them out there. And I really want to take just an opportunity to thank Tony for giving me the heads up and the kick in the fanny to get moving. We as a group said we wanted some good hard facts and data, and we want to become informed and educated on this issue. And Craig, your immediate acceptance of this opportunity to teach us something, I really appreciate all 3 of you coming in.
And if I can, following up on what Greg said, one of the concerns that I'm hearing is Idaho and Wyoming are much, much more aggressive, and they're allowing hunting almost year-round, if you look at it. And we just discussed that what keeps a wolf fearful of humans is being shot at. when they're being shot year-round, or at least shot at, frightened off, in Wyoming and Idaho, these are very smart animals. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to where they're not having the same pressure. And so a huge concern is that they're going to be coming to Montana, Washington, and Oregon, who are already starting to struggle with no management issues, and a population of wolves that are just going to keep moving. So do we have that in our mindset of what's going to happen to this neighboring community of two states that are under heavy pressure?
Well, I think ideally through the hunting, we're going to bring the population down, and the reason the population has expanded is because we have dispersers that keep going out, and we're able to do that. But one comment I just like to make, just to kind of throw in there too, to think about, is we have kind of seen this really steep increase with all the tables that I show. You're seeing wolf population just going up, and I get that question. It's like, well, where does it stop? And it does, because there's only so much available habitat for wolves, just like there's so much available habitat for elk. We've seen this in Yellowstone Park already, an area that's not hunted by people, so just watch it naturally happen. Population shot up, and it dropped back down, and it leveled out. And so we expect to see that too. But the difference between us and Yellowstone is we're gonna be, we're gonna be managing that through hunting as well, and hope to bring that down lower than it would be naturally. So we certainly have a lot to learn. As Mike has said, we've all said, this is new. We haven't hunted wolves like this before. Are we going to reach this quota? And we're going to need to have these kind of discussions more in the future once we learn how this hunting season goes, so that we can adjust and do what we need to do.
Okay, we had quite a bit of commissioner comment. First of all, I'd like to open up the public for questions first of our guests today, and then we'll go from there into comments, so we have an opportunity. I want to start with the Honorable Senator in the back row.
Well, I'm a senator, honorable is debatable, but I've been involved with this issue for the last 2 or 3 years, various commissions in the legislature and councils and whatnot. I've heard hours of testimony. First comment will not be critical of these people, they may not be aware of it. But the department promised in their brief to Judge Malloy back in 09, you can look it up, in 09 or 10, that we would manage for somewhere between 400 and 500 wolves. I think it was 4 and 25, max 500. And they weren't talking, I like the way they're figured here, where you only see a part of them, because in the briefs, I don't believe that was the assumption, so I like that part. So the department is really committed to federal court to manage for at least 400 wolves. Secondly, Commissioner Kennewisher asked a very good question about training wolves, and Liz gave him, I believe, a very poor answer. When wolves kill, first off, you don't train a pack. You don't know which wolf killed the cow. So when you shoot a wolf, did you shoot the wolf that brought down the cow? Maybe. But it doesn't make any difference, because the whole pack eats the cow. The testimony that I believed was, if you want to limit depredation, you take out the whole pack. You don't leave any of them. There's several advantages to that. First off, the pack's larger. A pack that is used to eating stock. And secondly, you don't get pups the next spring that learn to do the same thing. Thank you.
All right, start right here. Name, please, so for the record.
My name is Mark Cook. I'm with the National Wolf Watcher Coalition. My question is kind of twofold. Do you think wolves could be accustomed or gain the spirit to eat cattle because of poor husbandry, animal husbandry? And I understand you work with wolves quite a bit. Do you fear wolves?
So the first question was, can wolves learn how to kill livestock due to poor husbandry? We haven't found any direct evidence for anything like that. I think wolves are known to take animals that are vulnerable, younger and easier to take. And as far as the question about do I fear wolves? Personally, no. I mean, I work with them out in the field quite a bit.
Thank you.
Over here.
Last year, Mike, when we were talking about the wolf population and the quota,